How did this stay alive? I had to find out.
There is a small raised step just inside every Japanese apartment front door. Americans almost always step right over it without thinking, and that is exactly the wrong move. That step is called the Genkan, and it is not a design quirk or an architectural leftover. It is a hard boundary between the outside world and the inside of the home. This video breaks down 4 specific things about the Japanese apartment entryway that Americans consistently misread, starting with that step. Segment 1, the step itself. In most American homes, the front door opens directly onto a floor. You walk in, maybe wipe your feet on a mat, and keep moving. The floor level does not change. There is no physical signal telling your body that you have crossed into a different zone. The Genkan is the opposite. The floor just inside the front door is lower than the rest of the apartment. It sits at the same level as the outside ground. The raised interior floor, called the agari-kamachi, is typically 3 to 6 inches higher. That height difference is not decorative. It is a physical reminder that the outside stays outside. Dirt, street dust, and anything your shoes picked up on the way home stops at that lower zone. You step out of your shoes on the lower level, step up onto the raised floor, and from that point forward, the apartment stays clean. Americans who step over the threshold with shoes on have not just made a minor social mistake. They have crossed a boundary that the entire home is physically designed around. Segment 2, the shoe rack placement. Look at where shoes are stored in an American home. Usually a closet near the door, a bench in the garage, or just left wherever they land. The storage is hidden or informal because shoes are not a big daily ritual. In a Japanese apartment Genkan, the shoe rack, called a getabeko, sits right in the lower zone. It is often built into the wall. Shoes go in facing outward so they are easy to slip on when leaving. This is not just tidiness. The getabeko is positioned so that the transition from shoes to no shoes happens in one smooth motion. You open the door, step in, remove shoes directly into the rack, and step up. The whole sequence takes about 4 seconds. Americans visiting a Japanese apartment for the first time often look for somewhere to put their shoes and find nothing obvious at their eye level, because the storage is low and built into the entryway architecture. The system assumes you already know the sequence. Segment 3, the slipper swap. Past the Genkan, most Japanese apartments have a pair of house slippers waiting on the raised floor. You put them on immediately after stepping up. This is not optional in most homes, and it is not just comfort. The slipper system extends the inside-outside logic one step further. The Genkan stops street dirt at the door. The slippers protect the interior floors from the soles of your feet. If the apartment has a separate bathroom, there is almost always a second pair of slippers specifically for the bathroom floor, and you swap into those at the bathroom door. Americans who wear their house slippers into the bathroom have just mixed 2 zones that the Japanese home keeps strictly separate. The slipper rule also tells you something about the floor itself. Japanese apartments often have tatami mat rooms, and slippers are not worn on tatami at all. You remove them again at the tatami room entrance. Each room type has its own footwear logic. Segment 4, the social boundary. Here is the one that catches Americans most off guard. In Japan, being invited inside a home is a significant gesture. The Genkan is where that boundary is enforced socially, not just physically. Delivery workers, neighbors stopping by, even some guests stay in the Genkan. They do not step up onto the raised floor unless the resident explicitly invites them to. In American homes, the equivalent would be someone standing on your front porch and never coming inside even after you open the door. It would feel strange. In Japan, staying in the Genkan is simply respectful until you are told otherwise. Americans who immediately step up into the apartment after being let in the front door are not being rude intentionally. They are applying American door logic to a space that runs on completely different rules. The Genkan is not a hallway. It is a waiting zone with a clear social protocol. These 4 details, the step height, the shoe rack position, the slipper system, and the social boundary, all come from the same underlying idea. The Japanese home draws a hard line between outside and inside, and the Genkan is where that line is enforced every single day. This channel covers the specific Japan daily life details that Americans misread on first contact, not travel tips, but the actual mechanics of how things work. If that is useful to you, subscribing means you get the next one without searching. Now, if the entryway already runs on rules most Americans have never seen, what do you think happens inside the Japanese apartment bathroom?